like your girl know a little something. See, look at me over here doubting myself. Hey family, what's going on? It's your girl Tatiana Moss and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, go ahead and click that red subscribe button down below so you can become a part of the family too. And for my returning viewers, hey family, what's going on? Thank you so much for coming back and clicking on another video from your girl. Let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room. Please excuse the pimple, y'all. I've been trying to treat it and it's just not going away. So I don't want to keep putting makeup on it and irritating it, but yeah, this is blowing me, so just disregard that. But y'all not here for that, right? Y'all here for what the video is entailing, which today's Vlogmas video is going to have us doing some Lcsw prep. So if you guys are new to my channel, or if you didn't know, I am currently under supervision right now to get my Lcsw license, and I'm also incurring hours towards it as well. So in the meantime, I've been trying to like start buckling down to study. I'm not eligible to sit to take my test until April of next year, but I always feel like the earlier the better to start. Me and my co-workers, we try to meet sometimes to test and quiz each other on a weekly basis, but it doesn't always work. And they introduced me to this app called Pocket Prep, which it is a app that you can download, and they have questions pertaining to all different plethoras of tests depending on your profession, whether that's nursing, psychology, social work, all of that. They pretty much have every type of testing, profession, prep kind of questions on this app. So you do get a free trial, and then you have to commit to paying after a while, but you know, I think it's worth it. But it just depends, because you don't want to go and start doing a whole bunch of different study materials and then you start confusing yourself. I've just been learning along the way that you want to answer the questions particularly based on what they're asking you to do first. So that's what I really just be trying to think about when I'm answering the questions. But today we're just going to take a quick pop quiz with the Pocket Prep, and you guys can just write your answers along in the comments and give me your perspective on why you gave the answer that you gave, even if it ends up being wrong, because I'm not going to be sitting up here lying. I probably might mess up on a few of these as well, but that's why we're doing this video, right? So we can learn and work together. And if you guys do like these like study with me videos and stuff like that, let me know. I can do more of these in the future. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the first question. Which of the following represents the best definition of translational research relevant to social work practice? A, it is logistic research that studies the way in which language, vocabulary, common terms, and words usage move from one ethnicity, nationality, or culture to another. B, it is the adaptation of finding of basic empirical research performed according to the rigorous scientific methods so that knowledge occurred in those settings can be extended into practical application and natural field research. And C, it is social science research that specifically focuses on the mechanism and the dynamics underlying the intermingling of cultural elements established oriented in different settings or locations. I ain't gonna lie, I don't know this one, y'all. Which of the following represents the best definition of translational research relevant to social work practice? Okay, let's see. So best. So let's look for worst first. To get that, we're gonna do the process of elimination. I'm gonna say A is probably definitely not the answer for sure. I'm gonna go with B, y'all. I'll put in the comments what y'all think it is, but we're gonna go with B. Okay, B was right. So let's see why I said it was right. Translational research is a set of methods that essentially focuses on moving research findings from laboratory and basic studies into practical use. The translational aspect of this type of work comes from the emphasis on utilizing findings from highly controlled, rigorous studies in ways that directly impact populations in need, improve modified models. The other options are incorrect because despite its name, translational research actually does not have anything to do with culture or language influence. And that's kind of like what I was trying to get at. Like, I'm like, that don't sound like that has nothing to do with really the question. So again, sometimes the best way to answer the question is doing a process of elimination first, especially if you don't know the question like I just did. All right, let's go to the next one. How long must an individual experience difficulty falling asleep or maintaining sleep in order to meet the criteria for insomnia disorder? I feel like I've answered this one before. I believe it's 3 months. I know for sure it's not 2, and 6 is too long to be going that long with you having an issue going on like that and not addressing it. So I'm going to say 3 months. Yes, I am correct. Insomnia disorder is marked with compliance of dissatisfaction when it comes to sleep quality or initiating and maintaining sleep. The symptoms must occur at least 3 nights a week for a minimum of 3 months in order for a diagnosis of insomnia disorder to be made. A client with a stutter has become a blogger and writer. Which of the following defense mechanisms is the client using? A, compensation, B, displacement, or C, identification? Okay, let's do the process of elimination. A client with a stutter has become a blogger and a writer. Which of the following defense mechanisms is the client using? I'm gonna definitely knock out identification. I know for a fact I don't think that's it. What do y'all think it is out of A or B? I don't know about this one, y'all. I'm gonna say compensation. Something's telling me it's displacement though, but I'm gonna go with my first answer. All right, look at me, y'all. Hey. It says psychological defense mechanisms are unconscious, involuntary techniques that reduce anxiety. Compensation occurs when a person makes up for real deficiencies in another way, such as the client in the question. Displacement is shifting actions or moods from the desired target to a substitute target when the desired target is not available. An example of displacement is taking work frustrations out on a family member by yelling at them. Finally, identification is when a person portrays themselves after another. An example of identification is a younger sibling adopting an older sibling's interests, hobbies, and fashion. Let me find out your girl know a little something. See, look at me over here doubting myself. All right now. Scared of me. Carolyn, a client, is diagnosed with anxiety. Which medication will she most likely start taking? A, forgive me y'all, I be butchering the medication names. Alprazolam, which is Xanax. Atrovalustin, which is Laperdo, or Haloperidol, which is Haldol. I know this one for a fact. This is Xanax. A. Yes. Medication allopurinol is used to treat anxiety, aka Xanax. Social workers should be knowledgeable about different types of drugs that their patients may be taking and what might be required during the course of their treatment. Haloperidol is an antipsychotic, and atorvastatin is used to treat cholesterol. I kind of knew about that because y'all know I'm familiar with anxiety. So, alright, there are a number of defense mechanisms that clients can use in order to protect themselves during treatment sessions. Which of the following best describes the defense mechanism? Substitution. A, justifying an unacceptable action in order to make it acceptable. B, replacing an unattainable goal with an attainable goal. Or C, shifting actions from a desired target to a substitute target when there is some reason for why the first target is not permanent or not available. So again, we are going to do the process of elimination. It's asking for the best defense mechanism substitution. So let's look for the worst first to do the process of elimination. We're going to go ahead and knock B out the way because I feel like that has nothing to do with defense mechanism. B and A, I'm in between though. I'm going to say C, y'all. Ooh, what y'all think it is? What y'all think? A or C, y'all? A or C? Put it in the comments. Put it in the comments. What? It was the one that I eliminated first, the middle one. Replacing an attainable goal with an attainable goal. Psychological defense mechanisms are unconscious and an involuntary technique that reduce anxiety. Substitution is a defense mechanism in which a client will replace an unattainable goal with an attainable goal. Displacement is a shifting of action from a desired target to a substitute target when there is some reason why the first target is not permitted or not available. And rationalization is when something that we find difficult to accept and we make up logical reason why it has happened. Wow, I'm actually shocked, y'all. See, that is a prime example of sometimes you just get tricked up reading the questions, and I did the process of elimination and sat up here and took out the correct answer. Crazy, right? But we move on. At the grocery store, you run into Hilda, a client that you successfully terminated a year ago. The two of you catch up, and she has started her own pool cleaning business, and you are in need of someone to clean your pool for the summer. So you hire her to clean your pool. How is this situation best described? A, an acceptable dual relationship. B, a non-acceptable dual relationship. Or C, bartering. Well, I know for sure it's not bartering because they're not exchanging anything at this point. Like, she's not asking her to come back to therapy for her to clean the car. She hired her to actually clean her pool. So the only thing I'm worried about is I know it is a certain time limit that you have to have after working with a client in order for you to be able to have any type of, I guess, relationship out of the therapeutic space. I don't know if it's 5 years or that's where I'm going to be confused at. I want to say acceptable because she said a year, but I feel like the way to answer it's going to be B. I'm going to pick B. Okay, and I was right. The personal side of me would have said A would have been okay, but I should have known it was going to be B. And here's what it says. As a social worker, you need to remember that once a client is a client, they will always be a client. A relationship should never be equal. Therefore, the situation that is described in the question can best be described as a non-acceptable dual relationship. The other options are incorrect. In this situation, it's not bartering because the question did not indicate that Hilda offered to clean your pool for free or in return for treatment, which that's what I said. So, fortunately, I guess maybe I read this incorrectly, but I could have sworn after so many years, it is okay for you to have a somewhat, I guess, open relationship with a client outside of the therapeutic space, but I could be wrong. That's why you always do your research, ladies and gentlemen. Receive a referral to provide case management for a family who has just immigrated from Afghanistan and need to be connected to services to meet some basic needs. The 15-year-old daughter in the family is the only one who speaks English, as well as Dari, which is exclusively spoken by her parents. However, you only understands and speaks English except the referral. The action is A, ethical because the daughter will be able to translate for the parents. B, unethical because you have not determined if the daughter is willing to translate. Or C, unethical because you cannot speak to or understand all the family members. Ooh. The only reason why I'm going to eliminate A is because the other two answers have unethical in it, so that's what's making me want to keep those two. So I'll go with B, just because, you know, I don't see anything in here about that she said that she was okay with speaking to the family members. Oh, something told me it was C low-key too. Oh man. Okay, unethical because you cannot speak to or understand all family members. Because the parents do not speak or understand English, you should arrange for a qualified interpreter or translator. The use of their 15-year-old daughter, whether she's available and or willing, is not appropriate because her parents may be apprehensive about identifying family needs to their teenage daughter. Additionally, in this question, what you hear from the parents will be through the daughter, so information might get lost, and vice versa when the daughter relays what you say to her parents. That's crazy because I was going back and forth on that one, on what the answer was. So, prime example. Sometimes you think you got it and then boom, you second guess yourself. So, next question. Frankly, a client whose mother has recently died after a protracted illness begins a session with you by self-reporting, I really feel bad this week. Which of the following would be the best formulation of a statement of primary empathy which you could respond? A, it seems like lately you had a lot of disturbing things to deal with, so let's talk about what might have happened this week that was particularly difficult for you, frankly. B, I'm sorry you're not feeling well right now. With your mother's death and all the things you have faced, perhaps you're a little let down. C, it's pretty obvious by the way you're saying that you're feeling miserable right now. Definitely not gonna be C. That sounds completely unempathetic if you ask me. I would say which of the phone would be the best formulation. I'm gonna go with A because it sounds like it's doing the evaluation process of helping, and you're trying to particularly discuss what is currently bothering her at the moment, because she didn't say what was bothering. She just said I feel really bad this week. So to assume that it's something dealing with her mother and all of that, I would say A is the right one, and that's the correct answer. Presented with a very generalized statement such as the one Frankie said to you, it's important to refrain from jumping to conclusions, like I said, when interpreting his communication without obtaining clarification. While it might be likely that feeling bad might be tied to specific events known by you, it is also possible that Frankie is referring to something unrelated to the event. You should not assume that Frankie is feeling badly about a certain issue, but should give him time to explain his own words. Your language should match the intensity level of his, so using a word like miserable is inappropriate in this situation. During an initial assessment with a young woman, you ask about reasons why a woman is seeking therapy. The woman describes her unsatisfying career, the problems with her wife, feelings of anxiety, and how she has a poor self-image. You would most likely A, avoid offering suggestions so the client does not feel criticized. B, help the client identify the primary issue that she would like to focus on during therapy. Or C, focus on the client's poor self-image since it's the most serious problem in your opinion. I would definitely eliminate C for sure, because it doesn't matter what your opinion is. It's what the client needs and wants. So that's definitely not it. So it's going to be between A or B. I would say probably B is the answer, because again, this is about the client. You want to make sure that the treatment plan is tailored to the specific needs that the client wants to work on first. So I'm going to go with B, which is correct. The task in this situation is to identify one primary area of treatment, like I just said, that the client would like to address. While it is not uncommon for clients to have several problem areas, in order to enter a social work client contract, there must be a mutual agreed upon area that treatment will target. You must find out what the client feels her most serious problem is, rather than make an assumption about what is the most serious. You should gently offer suggestions for choosing which area the client would like to focus on, but it should be up to the client and not your opinions or bias. The last question: which of the following is most accurate regarding a toddler who frequently engages in echolalia? I'm gonna be honest, y'all, I've never heard of this word. This is new for me. Echolalia is a possible early warning sign of autism spectrum disorder and should be viewed as a concern that should be thoroughly assessed by a qualified professional. B, this behavior is part of the normal developmental stage and usually decreases or disappears completely around the age of 3. Or C, the behavior is largely socially conditioned by parental caregiver reinforcement, and the most appropriate response is to extinguish the behavior by ignoring it so that it does not become habitual and persistent in school age years. Ooh, I don't know what the answer to this one is, y'all. Let me get myself right. I don't know, y'all. I'm just going with C. Okay, it was B. Let's see why that was the answer. Echolalia is a behavior that is a part of a normal language development. The stage in which echolalia may be the most prominent begins at 18 months of age as a child masters producing language and speech, imitate phrases spoken by others. Echolalia usually peaks at about 24 to 30 months of age and diminishes, disappears by the time a toddler turns 3. Age 3 correlates with the time that a child begins engaging in conversational speech, begins to truly talk independently, generates, expresses original thoughts, asks new questions, and can respond appropriately to questions asked by others. Ultimately, echolalia is a normal part of language development when children are learning. That's bad, y'all, the camera cut off. So this is the most accurate option. While echolalia may be a behavior associated with various developmental problems in the absence of other diagnostic signs, it should not be considered a sign of other pathological or concern as stated above. Echolalia is a developmentally appropriate for children 18 to 36 months and will disappear without any parental. Since echolalia, I don't know why I'm having a hard time pronouncing this, can be a part of learning how to talk, it is not a behavior that parents need to actively extinguish. Okay, so it's all good. I didn't know this one, like I said, but I learned something new today, and that's why we are studying, because it's going to be instances where you're going to get thrown questions that you probably never heard before. So, and this sounds like that is one of them. So we got a drum roll, please, so you can keep it up. We got a 70%, y'all. So is that considered passing? So I got 3 wrong. So would this be considered passing? Because one thing about it, C's do get degrees. Just saying. If I could just get my foot through the door, I'm not going to be mad at that. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed doing this little study with me. And if you guys want me to do more of these in the future, like I said earlier in the video, please let me know. I definitely don't mind doing them. And I'll definitely probably incorporate it in my vlogs and stuff like that as well. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up because it truly does help. And if you have not subscribed to the family yet already, what are you doing? Go ahead and click that red subscribe button down below before leaving out. Thank you guys so much as always. And you already know I will see you on my next video. Bye, y'all.